for a limited time, $1 gets you full access to all the automotive industry news and content CBTNews.com has to offer. CBT News. Subscribe today. Welcome to CBT News with Bridget Fitzpatrick.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. I'm sitting in for Bridget today. Coming up later in our newscast, I sit down with Alan Hague, who is the president and founder of Hague Partners. But first, here are today's top stories. Amazon and Rivian are currently discussing scrapping the exclusivity part of their electric van deal, which will allow the automakers to sell to others. Executives from both companies have expressed their excitement for the future. Amazon started cost-cutting saving measures in the middle of an e-commerce slowdown after a surge during the pandemic. For Rivian, the Amazon contract has guaranteed consistent demand for one of the 3 vehicles that the automaker builds at its Normal, Illinois factory. Luxury automaker Porsche issued a long-term outlook of more than 20% of return on sales after posting a record 2022 earnings yesterday. The company reported that deliveries increased by 2.6% to 309,884 units, and operating profit increased by 27% to $7.2 billion in 2022. Oliver Blume, CEO of Porsche, stated to CNBC yesterday that, quote, 2022 was a very successful year for record sales, revenue, operating profit, and profit margin of 18%. OpenAI and ChatGPT's AI language models could quickly power virtual assistants in General Motors vehicles. A GM executive has revealed that the U.S. automaker is exploring ChatGPT's possible uses as part of a collaboration with Microsoft. The project's details were provided by GM Vice President Scott Miller, who stated, quote, ChatGPT is going to be in everything, end quote. By providing drivers with information about their vehicle features, the chatbot is said to expand beyond the current voice commands used in vehicles. Finally, wholesale prices for used cars rose by 4.3% in February compared to January. This is the largest increase for the full month of February since 2009's 4.4% rise. Manheim's Used Vehicle Value Index increased to 234, a 7% drop from the previous year. The seasonal adjusted partially contributed to February's growth. The average price of used vehicles was down 5.6% year over year due to the non-adjusted price change in February, which increased 3.7% compared to January. Coming up next is my discussion with Alan Hague, who's the president and CEO of Hague Partners. We'll be right back.
Delivering the news dealers count on for 10 years. Subscribe today and join thousands of other automotive professionals. CBT News, 10 years strong.
Is now a good time to sell your dealership? On today's edition of Inside Automotive, I sit down with Alan Hague to share his perspective on the buy-sell market and discuss what's impacting automotive today. Check it out. Is now a good time to be selling, or is it a buyer's market or a seller's market?
Well, I believe it's a little bit of both, Jim. We have a little bit of decline in dealership profits we're seeing here in the second half of the year and the first couple months of 23, but they're still about 2.5 times what they were prior to the pandemic. So dealers continue to generate a huge amount of cash. And I think a lot of the concerns that dealers had with the future of auto retail have been diminished in the last 24 months. There's less concerns about subscription model, about a recession, about some of the new entrants like Rivian and Lucid, et cetera. Greater comfort that the flexibility of the auto retail business model is going to continue. So if new cars are short supply, you raise the prices. And the same thing with used vehicles. And we continue to see huge increases in fixed ops, even though we have fewer units in operation, because there's just so many recalls going on right now. The warranty work is amazing. In terms of buying, I mean, dealers, I think, are looking around saying, hey, have all this extra cash, where am I going to put it? I don't know of a better asset class in terms of a return on investment than car dealerships are. In terms of if you're thinking about exiting the business, you've got basically record high profits still, or values still. In fact, on Saturday, we were excited to be part of a transaction, a dealer that we're representing. We signed a letter of intent to sell his company for what will be the highest value ever for a single store.
Really? Wow.
So yeah, the profits he's generating are very strong. The market he's in is excellent. The franchise he represents is among the best.
Sure.
And buyers recognize that. And we had a number of offers for this business that all would have set records. So we're still excited for our clients that are coming to market. Earlier in this year in January, we closed on the sale of a couple Chrysler stores in the Charlotte area, owned by Jack and Robin Saltzman. And one of them, their store in Lake Norman, according to the Stellantis folks, brought the highest price ever paid for a Stellantis dealership. So it's still an excellent time for folks to come to market if they want to exit the business, because we're finding lots of buyers that still want to grow, both publicly traded companies, but the majority of our buyers are privately owned dealership groups.
Be sure to watch that interview in its entirety right here at cbtnews.com. Well, that's a wrap for our show today. Be sure to join us right back here tomorrow morning for all of the news and trends impacting the retail automotive industry. Be sure to follow us on TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.
CBT News, your #1 resource for auto industry news and content. Join the #1 most watched newscast in the automotive industry. CBT News. Subscribe today.